Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to No Filter with Michelle Sandlin. Today, I am very excited to have as my guest here in the virtual studio, actor Ryan Carnes, who you may know from ABC's General Hospital, where he plays Dr. Lucas Jones. But that's not all he's about. Of course, he's been in a lot of different TV shows, including Desperate Housewives. And he's also something that is very important to me, which is a drummer. So I think it's always really cool when you have somebody who's mixing a lot of different talents. And I certainly admire Ryan and have been a huge fan of General Hospital, as I think most of my followers know. For many, many years, I've been watching this show since I'm 14 years old, which, let's just say, it's been a lot of years. It's just my pleasure to get to know some of the cast members and invite them onto the show. And Ryan's actually the first one to be on my show, although I've had a telephone conversation with Kathleen Gotti, of course, who plays the evil Dr. Obrecht, head of, I guess she's chief of staff on the show. So anyway, without further ado, I want to welcome Ryan and tell you thanks again for being on the show. We actually had a lot of chats getting this all lined up, so it's very exciting to finally have you here, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I'm happy to be here.
Cool.
I've never done a Google Hangout before, so this is my first time.
Hey, you know, there's a first time for everything, and it can be a little sticky at first, but it runs pretty smooth, and it's nice because then people can watch it on YouTube anytime that they want to. So I guess a really great place to start with you is to give us a little bit of your background. And I know that you grew up in Illinois, and I've read up on you, but if you could share a little bit of your past with our viewers, and also tell us, more importantly, you know, how you got into acting and where drumming fits into the mix.
All right, so gosh, where would you like me to start? Any place in particular?
Yeah, why don't you start a little bit with, you know, sort of growing up and what inspired you to sort of get into acting and or drumming. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg there, so you can tell us how that went.
All right, so yeah, I grew up outside town. I grew up on a farm outside a town of 4,000 people in west central Illinois called Pittsfield. And I guess, you know, the thing that came first was actually drumming. As I understand it, the way the story is told to me is that I went around the house banging on things and pulling out pots and pans out of the cabinets and banging on those. And so my parents had the wisdom to go and get me a drum set, which at the time when I was 3 was a toy drum set. And I played that pretty avidly until the neighbor kids destroyed it, and that was no longer. And then I started begging them for a real drum set. And the deal was, if I would start taking drum lessons, they would get me a drum set. So I had to take drum lessons for a year, and then I would get a drum set, which I did. So, you know, that was around 6, I think. So, yeah, you know, the drumming thing came pretty early, and I've done that ever since that period of time, you know, sort of. I've never done it for a living. I've done it more as fun and as a hobby and in school and stuff. Acting really, I mean, I guess even as a child, I was kind of a performer. I would put on concerts, though I was more of a rock star performer, a wannabe rock star. I'd put on concerts at the house for my parents and grandparents when I was really small. And then I didn't really do it formally until I was 10. I was in a play in the local theater guild. And I really only did that because my parents kind of just encouraged me to do it, because I was really into sports. Like, sports was my thing. And they wanted to make sure I was well-rounded and had an opportunity to do other things. So I did that, and then didn't touch it again for years until I was in college, and got asked to audition for a play that a student-run production company was doing by a couple of my classmates. And I got cast, and that was when I got bit by the bug and fell in love with acting, or at least thought that I was falling in love with acting.
Right.
What I knew at the time was that it was more fun than anything else that I was doing at school, so I wanted to give it a shot and pursue it and see if there was anything there for me. So, you know, however many years later, here we are.
Yeah, well, if I'm not mistaken, because I have read up on you quite a bit, didn't you also take part as, I guess, in the marching band when you were in college?
I did, yeah, that's true. I was a part of what is affectionately known as DUM, which stands for University Marching Band. And yeah, I did that for, I think, just a year. After my freshman year, I kind of was like, no, I've done that for all through school, and And I just kind of wanted to have more free time. So I let that go.
I got you. So was it right after college then that you kind of, I guess I would assume you moved out to LA? That seems to be where most of you guys move out to.
Yeah, I actually didn't finish college. I am a college dropout.
Hey, cheers to that.
I made it through my sophomore year and then decided that it was sort of like, I could have waited until I finished college, but I knew that in this industry, the younger one gets into it, the greater the chance. I mean, in general, not completely, but the town likes young, it likes the youth, and so I just decided to take a shot at it because college would always be there. I could go back and finish college now if I wanted to, or when I'm 60. That's not going anywhere. But youth is fleeting, so I decided to take the plunge and move out.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it was a good decision at the time and certainly has panned out for you quite a bit. And I also know that you're a drummer in a band called Me and You, which I found a couple of things on YouTube, but I'm more interested in finding out, what the plans are. I mean, are y'all doing more recording stuff? Are you doing different gigs? Are you just local sort of, what are the plans for the band moving forward?
Well, we're trying to figure that out right now, actually. We so far in this incarnation of the band, we've been mostly doing local shows around LA. The band itself has been around for, I don't know, 6-7 years. The lead singer and the lead guitarist are their boyfriend and girlfriend, or girlfriend and boyfriend respectively. And so they've been playing together for a while, but myself and the bassist, we came in not quite a year ago. And I've been writing some new songs. We, about a month or two ago, went into the studio, recorded a couple songs for a demo. We're not really happy with the way they turned out, so we're going to have to get someone to either remix them, or we're just going to have to re-record, because we don't really feel like they capture our sound like that is us live as a band. So we're in a phase of kind of trying to decide what direction we're going to take the music in, and how best to find success in that. So we're now it seems to be a time of that. It seems like just in the world at large, it seems to be like a time for introspection and reflection and trying to decide what's most important and how to best do things. So
yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with that, and I would imagine that it's a very busy time for you, just trying to balance an acting career with your music ambitions, and I know you do some writing and producing and some other things. So how do you balance it all? I mean, I know that probably sounds like an impossible question to answer, but I mean, I know my plate stays pretty full, and just knowing what your schedule must be, I get scared just thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, it's tough, Michelle, to be honest. It's time management is not something that I've always been very good at, and I'm still not that great at it. I'm better. I'm getting better, and it's something that I consistently work on, because really, I decided at some point that just to just be an actor just wasn't sufficient for me, because I have other ambitions and other goals, and for better or worse, I tend to be an extremely ambitious guy. So I kind of, in order to stay sort of fully alive in life and participating in life, I have to have a lot on my plate. That's really how I best function. And at the same time, for somebody who hasn't always been good at time management, it's a little challenging. So I guess really to answer the question, how do I do it? I just try to find a balance, and there's definitely still, acting is what I do most of the time. It's how I earn my living, and it's what I'm probably best at out of all of those things right now. So I give most of my time to that, because that's my living. And then I just, when I'm not doing that, I fill in the gaps with the other things that I like to do and want to begin creating.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. So who would you say have been some of your biggest influences, both on the acting side as well as, musically, and drummers that you followed growing up and even now?
Wow, great question. Um, okay, so let me start with actors. I
Okay.
guess, well, to start old school and then go new school, Paul Newman, Marlon Brando. I mean, it's Brando and James Dean it's cliche to say, but to be honest, watching Marlon Brando, he brought such an authenticity and realness to what he was doing, and at a time when nobody else was doing that except for James Dean.
Right.
So, he just brought so much reality and truth to it, and so he's definitely one of my old school favorites. Paul Newman, I feel similarly about, and I love, Paul has been quoted as saying, it didn't come easily to me. I had to work really hard at it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like he said, Robert Redford, he and Robert were sort of coming up at the same time, and he said Robert didn't even really want to be an actor. He just wanted to be a painter. And then somebody told him he should act, and he decided to act, and it just came easily. I don't feel like it. I feel like I have to work at it. I don't feel like it necessarily comes that easily to me. Maybe in some ways, but not really, not in a lot of ways. So I really admire him and for that, and his body of work. Who else? I mean, more modern. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, huge fan. God rest his soul. Dustin Hoffman. I think Brad Pitt is, some people, it seems like people either love him or hate him. I think he's a great character actor trapped in a leading man's body, and I think he's vastly underrated.
Mm.
A lot of which is because probably of the way he looks. Daniel Day-Lewis. To me, he may be the greatest actor of many generations. When it comes to drummers, let's see. Carter Buford, I always just thought was like an incredible drummer and so creative. The guy from I can't think of it. Well, Danny Carey from Tool, whom I recently met and got my picture taken with. Danny, I mean, he's just astonishing and ridiculous. And if you've ever seen, or if anybody's ever seen Danny live, like he makes it look so effortless. He's one of those guys that just sort of glides around the kit. The guy, Chris Adler from Lamb of God. Chris, I mean, God, he's incredible. I don't think no matter how many hours of practice I put in, I could ever drum like him. He's astonishing. And Scott Phillips from Creed and then Alter Bridge. A lot of people like to make fun of Creed. I still think their first album was one of the best rock albums of the '90s, and Alter Bridge now with Myles Kennedy. I love them. I love their music. I love their lyrics. And he's an incredible. Well, Myles, if people don't know, he's also the vocalist for Slash's band. He's incredible. And so Scott, like if I said that my drumming style was similar to anyone's, it would probably be Scott Phillips. And I'm not as good as him, but
yeah,
I can try.
Well, you've got a very good list there, both on the acting side and on the drumming side. And, it's interesting you bring up Brad Pitt, and I'm a huge fan of his as well. But, I know you're aware that people have made some similarity judgments between you and him in terms of your looks, because you do look quite a bit like Brad Pitt. I mean, I've seen a lot of people having written about that and said that online, but certainly you have to be aware of that.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what would be the role for you, or the type of character that you would like to play that you haven't yet had an opportunity to portray yet?
Oh God, I mean it's hard. It's a hard question because it's tough to just break down a role or character into a single type, because it's like, no two people are the same. No two human beings are the same, nor could they be. So I guess, I guess sort of a generic way to answer it is that I'd love to do some roles that have more of an edge to them. I've been fortunate in that I've had a variety. I've gotten to do a variety of different kinds of roles. A lot of what I've done though has been you know, of the lighter, it's lighter fare. You know, it's kind of fun, it's light, and I'd love to do something little that stretches me, you know, that pulls me in a direction that challenges me to find the darker places inside of me. You know, and I when I say dark, I don't mean, you know, I don't mean like evil. I just mean, you know, those things that as human beings, a lot of us don't really want to give that much attention to, because they don't necessarily, they're not the prettiest sides of us that we really readily want to show the world, you know?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would like to get a little ugly, get a little dirty.
Well, you would certainly play a very nice guy on General Hospital, so I'm sure that would be an interesting departure for you. So I'm curious, what has been your favorite role so far? I mean, is it playing Dr. Lucas Jones, or is it some of the other things you've been involved in?
Well, I definitely love playing Lucas Jones, because, you know, for a few reasons. One of which is that I've never gotten to play a doc. Well, that's not true. I played a doctor one time, I guess an intern, in a TV movie thing, a TV movie miniseries called Blackout. But this is the most action I've ever seen as a doctor. So that's fun, and it's challenging, you know, to throw around the medical lingo is a challenge in and of itself. I also love playing Lucas because I get to portray, you know, I think fortunately, and it's really, you know, it's not that much credit to Perry and I. You know, it goes more to the showrunner Frank Valentini and the writing staff and the head writer Ron Carlivati. You know, they're giving us an opportunity to portray a really human, really real homosexual couple.
Right.
And I think, you know, because of that, it has the ability to touch a lot of people, because it's like, oh, hey, I know people like that in my life. You know, people get a chance to watch and go, oh, hey, I know, you know, that's like my brother, that's like my friend, that's like my uncle, that, you know. So that's an honor, and we're getting to do some groundbreaking stuff on daytime. So for that reason, I love playing Lucas. Probably a couple of roles that I would put ahead of it, just because, you know, I grew up an athlete, and I still like that. You know, exercise and physical activity are really important to me. They make me feel good, and so more action oriented stuff is kind of like right in my sweet spot, you know. So when I did The Phantom for the Sci-Fi Network, which was a mini series that was shot as a pilot for a series, didn't get picked up to series, but the mini series aired. You know, that at the time, that was by far the most fun I'd ever had doing a role, because I got to run around and, you know, do some stunts, beat on bad guys, and still got to have the romantic interest, and still got there were some funny moments in it. Kind of had everything. And then this role that I did in a movie last fall, the movie's called False Memory Syndrome. It's not out yet. I played the lead character, and it was really my character's story. And you know, I got to do, it's a sci-fi thriller, and I got to do some action stuff. Not really any stunts, but it was nonetheless, you know, I got to do a little bit of action, some more upbeat stuff with a faster tempo to it, and that was really fun. I loved it. So I would say my two favorite roles so far are Chris Walker in The Phantom, and my guy Chris that I played in this last movie.
Right, exactly. Well, I haven't seen those two movies, but certainly something to put on my own watch list. Well, I certainly enjoy you on General Hospital, and I think, you know, you mentioning the writers right now is so apropos, because I find that, you know, as being such a longtime fan of the show, like I said, I've watched it literally decades, and I've never seen the show be quite as funny and humorous, with the backdrop of, you know, all the drama that has to, you know, happen in a daytime, you know, soap opera. And I think the writing is just absolutely fantastic. And it looks like the cast really has a good time both on the camera and off the camera, because I noticed that you guys do a lot of fan events and charity events, you know, together, you know, groups of you and so forth. I know you've been involved in several of those, one recently. So you want to tell me a little bit about, you know, how cool it is, or what you enjoy most about being out there and being able to talk with your fans?
Yeah, it's one of the best parts of the job, really. Yeah, I mean, if not the best, because, you know, soaps are a dying breed, as is evidenced by the number of them that have been canceled in the last few years, and we're really fortunate to still be on the air. You know, us, Days, YNR, and Bold and the Beautiful. That's it. It's all that's left. And so it's pretty clear that without the fans, we wouldn't be on the air. I mean, that's it. Bottom line, it's the people who are still watching the shows that keep us working in that medium. And so it's a pleasure and it's a treat to get to meet those people. And I really, the most recent thing that I did down on Marco Island was a charity event for an autism charity for children. And I met some people down there that I'm happy to call my friends. You know, they're my friends now, and they're not just fans. They're not just fans of the show. You know, they're friends of the show, and they're friends of the actors on the shows. And one woman that I met, she's been friends with Christian LeBlanc for like 20 years. Like, went to his first ever event or something, and now goes to everything that he does. And they are legitimately friends. She told me, she tweeted me and told me when she got back home to New York, and she told me that Christian always tells her, "Let me know when you get home, Mary," because he wants to know that she's all right. And it's just like, you know, I was surprised. I was surprised to find myself feeling so so bonded to people that I just met over a weekend, you know, over a charity event. So it's great. It's a lot of fun, and I love doing fan events. You know, we've got the General Hospital Fan Club weekend coming up the first weekend of August, and then I'm going to New York in September with Jackie Zeman, New York, New Jersey, like Long Island, New Jersey, and then in November I'm going to Montreal with Christian LeBlanc and Christopher Sean. Christopher's on Days of Our Lives. So yeah, I love it. I don't. To me, it's just fun. You know, I've always liked people, and I like meeting people, and I like just sharing what we do with the people who love to watch us do it and support us in doing it.
Yeah, well, and I would say that the fans of General Hospital are a very devoted crew of people. So I can certainly attest to that. Well, I would imagine too that, you know, you're very recognizable out there. And while you do want to have, you know, somewhat of, you know, exposure out there in the public eye, you also want to be able to maintain a certain degree of privacy. So how do you kind of, I guess, set boundaries and so forth so that you can, you know, walk into Whole Foods or wherever and be able to, you know, say hello to people, but not be able to grocery shop or go to a restaurant or go hear a band or whatever it is you want to do?
Well, you know, look, I mean, I don't, at this point, I don't really have to deal too much with that. You know, once in a while, you know, somebody knows me as Lucas Jones, or somebody knows me as, you know, something else or somebody else. But most, you know, I find most of the time the people are really respectful, and they really respect boundaries. You know, once in a while, I got followed around a grocery store one day for a period of time, and you know, I said hello, and we had a conversation. Then I excused myself, and then I was followed some more. So that was a little like, okay, you know, we did our thing. Now let me do my thing, and let me get my groceries. But you know, it's flattering. You know, I always, you know, when I see somebody that I look up to, unless they're in a restaurant in the middle of dinner, or they're doing something where I just don't feel like that I should bother them, most of the time I go up to them and I say, "Hey, I'm a huge fan of your work. I loved you and whatever. You know, you've inspired me as an artist." And because who doesn't want to know that? Who doesn't want to hear that? I mean, I want to hear that. That's great. I welcome people sharing their gratitude for what I do. So, you know, it doesn't really bother me. And for the most part, I don't have to worry about it. You know, I appreciate it, and people are pretty respectful. So I just go on about my day, and it's fine.
Well, I mean, that's good to hear. And I'm sure you do get a fair amount of people, you know, bothering you, but it's nice that you can kind of keep everything in perspective and know that, you know, you also need the fans. So I think that's a really healthy, balanced way to look at it. So what would you say is next for you? I mean, what do you have any exciting projects on the horizon, or something that you're working on or hoping to do before the end of this year, for instance?
Well, Yeah, I mean, there's not much that I can really talk about. I tend to be somebody who I don't like to talk about things until they're here, until they're actually happening. Um, I find sometimes that talking about things before they happen kind of dissipates the energy that could be behind them and behind them coming to being. So the one thing that I can say is that I'm really excited for False Memory Syndrome, the movie that I mentioned. I'm really excited for that to come out. I don't know when it's going to be finished, but I do know that it's nearing being finished, and I know that the director and the producers are I mean, they couldn't be happier with it. The director said to me recently, it's everything that I wanted it to be and more. And, you know, I mean, for a director to say that, I think is about the highest praise for his own baby, you know, that he could say. So I'm very excited for that. There's a project that I was an executive producer on. I was gonna be in it. I was gonna act in it, and then I couldn't work it out schedule-wise with General Hospital. So I just let it go, but I still put some money into it as an executive producer, and that's this movie called Stand. And it's done. It's been some film festivals, and we've been trying to get it. We've been trying to get a distribution and get it sold, and that's something that I think may be on the horizon. So if that sells and we get distribution for that, that's really good news for everybody involved. And you know, other than that, I mean, what I'd like to do before the end of the year, I mean, I'd love to do another movie, and I'd love to land in a TV series, you know, have a primetime, have a lead role in a primetime series. That's kind of what myself and everybody who works with me and around me, that's what we're aiming for. So.
Right. Well, and you've certainly seen that happen with a lot of, you know, castmates previously, and a lot of, you know, stars today who got their start on the daytime soap. So I think that's definitely an attainable goal. And you've already had a lot of at least guest appearances and guest roles and recurring roles on some different series. So I'm sure that would be the natural next step for you. So all the best in that. I really hope everything works out. That sounds cool. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us or talk about before we let you get back to your busy afternoon?
Anything else? I don't think so. I mean, I guess I would just say, you know, if you want to know what I'm up to on a daily and weekly basis, follow me on social media. You know, on Twitter and Instagram both. I'm at Ryan Carnes 1, and if you wanna have a chance to come hang out, find me where I'm going to be at these events. You know, whether it's in LA at the fan club weekend, or whether it's in Long Island and New Jersey with Jackie Zeman, or whether it's in Montreal with Christian and Christopher Sean. You know, come hang out. We'll have I'm fun, and I get into karaoke pretty hardcore. So come hang out, you know. I don't know. That's all I got, I think.
Yeah, you know, I think that sounds like a lot of fun. And certainly if you find yourself in any of the other crew down here in Houston, I'd love to hang out with you, and we can do karaoke, we can jam on the drums, whatever you want to do. That sounds good.
Oh, and one more thing.
Yeah.
Just as a parting thing, just the only other thing that I would say to everybody is be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt others.
I love that. That's a great way to wrap up the interview. Well, Ryan, I cannot thank you enough for being on my show today and just being so gracious and kind and supportive to be able to come on here today. And of course, you are welcome back anytime. You don't have to be in Houston to be on my show. I would love to keep visiting with you, and certainly wish you all the best in your career. And you're a lot of fun to watch. So all the best to you. And until next time, Ryan, I'm going to let you say goodbye, and I will say goodbye. So this is Michelle Sandlin, No Filter. We are signing off for today. Cheers, y'all.
All right. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Thanks, Ryan.
Cheers.